Is that the sound of dishes or dignity falling? The coffee cups clink across the diner counter, steam rising like memory in the early light. They mocked her for serving food, laughter pressed through chrome and chatter until the air itself went still. Then came the soft heartbeat silence the moment a hidden patch beneath her apron caught the sun-proof stitched in gold and years. Still somewhere between the jukebox hum and the flag outside the window, one man remembered what service really sounds like. The diner woke with the rattle of dishes and the hum of an old jukebox. Steam coiled above the counter like memory itself, twisting in the orange light. Evelyn balanced a tray of coffee cups through the narrow aisle, the same rhythm she'd kept for years. Steady, precise, almost military. Then one handle slipped. Porcelain struck linoleum, scattering sugar packets like little white flags of surrender. Laughter cracked the morning quiet. "Just serving food, huh?" Someone called from the booth near the door. "Guess Hero's retired to diner duty," another voice added low and amused. For a breath, nobody moved. The jukebox stuttered the bass line, fading into silence. Evelyn knelt to gather the broken pieces. Her hands didn't shake much anymore. She'd learned to steady them long ago. Under the edge of her apron, a patch caught the light, a dull flash of blue and gold gone before most could see. Cal Merrick noticed. From the far booth, he set down his newspaper and watched the light settle back into shadow. The laughter thinned. A spoon stirred metal on ceramic, a small, uneasy rhythm. Then the diner's noise returned, softer, embarrassed, as if the room realized it had gone too far. Evelyn stood, brushed off the floor grit, and carried on. "Anyone need a refill?" she asked, voice calm as Sunday morning radio. The same customers who had laughed moments ago avoided her eyes. The cook called out, "Hot plate." She moved to the pass window, the tray balanced again. No tremor this time. Outside, through the glass, the town flag hung still in the cold. She glanced at it, and for a second her face softened. A private salute only she understood. Cal turned another page, but the print blurred. He'd seen that patch once before, years back, sewn on a uniform that came with silence and weight. Still, he thought people forget what service looks like once it trades boots for aprons. At the corner booth, a young man whispered, "Isn't she the one they said used to be?" "Fake vet," his friend muttered. Evelyn heard the words but kept walking. The coffee poured smooth, dark, exact. Not a drop spilled. The jukebox clicked to a new track, something from the 60s harmonies about coming home. A woman at the counter hummed along without knowing why. Cal lifted his cup toward Evelyn in a quiet gesture. She nodded back, an alliance sealed without sound. Steam drifted past the neon sign again, curling into the shape of wings before it vanished. The room felt different still. Busy, still ordinary, but under the noise ran a thread of respect no one wanted to name. Evelyn wiped the counter, straightened the tip jar, and breathed. There was work to finish orders, to take dishes to wash. Humiliation had passed. Duty remained. Outside, a freight train rolled through town, its horn a long, low note that carried through the diner walls. For those who listened, it sounded almost like a salute. The lunchtime rush thinned, leaving only the hiss of the griddle and the slow turn of the ceiling fan. Evelyn wiped down the counter, her movements exact muscle memory from years of doing things the right way, even when no one noticed. At the corner booth, Cal Merrick folded his paper again. He watched the group of young men still chuckling into their phones. One of them replayed the morning clip, Evelyn stooping to gather the cups. Tiny flashes of ceramic light. Cal rose, set $1 under his mug, and walked toward them. "Morning, fellas." The laughter wavered. Phones lowered a notch. "You don't know the whole story," Cal said quietly, voice steady as the jukebox hum. The nearest one scoffed. She's just a waitress, man. Maybe. Or maybe she's carried more weight than the tray she dropped. Silence settled thick, but not hostile. Evelyn turned from the counter, eyes cautious. Jamie, the youngest server, held his phone at chest level. He wasn't recording at first, then he was instinctively. A tiny red light blinked. The lens caught Cal's calm face, the steam between him and the men, the quiet authority that didn't need volume. "You served too, didn't you?" one of them asked. Cal nodded once. Long time ago. He tapped the faint outline under his jacket, a patch pressed against the fabric, same design as the glint on Evelyn's apron. It wasn't a weapon. It was a memory stitched in thread. "Then why work here?" another asked, half defensive. Cal smiled. "Because service doesn't end with the uniform. Sometimes it just changes tables." A spoon stirred somewhere. The sound rang brighter in the hush. Jamie lowered his phone, uncertain. The moment felt larger than the room. Evelyn poured coffee into Cal's old mug, the act slow and steady. "Refills on me," she said. He nodded. "Appreciate that." The group of men exchanged looks. One mumbled an apology no one quite heard. Then chairs scraped. The bell above the door chimed. They left without another word. Jamie looked from the empty doorway to his screen. The clip had captured everything, the laughter fading, the calm rebuke, the unspoken respect. He hesitated, thumb hovering. Then he posted it with a caption meant to be ironic, #just serving food. He didn't expect it to spread. He didn't expect strangers online to argue about dignity or veterans, or how people measure worth. Back at the counter, Evelyn leaned toward Cal. "You didn't have to do that." "Sure I did," he said. "Some things you still stand up for, even off duty." Her smile was small, careful. The neon clock ticked toward 2. Sunlight flickered across the chrome napkin holder. Outside, the flag shifted once in the breeze, just enough to catch a ray of gold. Jamie watched them, unsure whether he'd done something right or just stirred a hornet's nest. Still, as he replayed the clip, one phrase lingered, Cal's voice, quiet but firm. "Service doesn't end with the uniform." The post went live at 2:07 p.m. Within minutes, the diner's Wi-Fi blinked with notifications. Comments rolled in, some kind, some cruel. But each one carried the same question. Jamie hadn't meant to ask aloud, what does real service look like now? By Monday morning, the diner's bell didn't stop ringing. Orders piled up, phones buzzed, and strangers peeked through the window before walking away. Evelyn felt it the moment she unlocked the door. Attention had a weight of its own. The post had spread. Jamie's clip now carried thousands of views and a caption that refused to die, "Just serving." Food had become a question the town argued over like weather. Some said she'd faked the patch. Others swore they remembered her from an old parade. The truth had turned into noise. When Chief Danvers pushed through the door, his uniform caught the light like authority itself. "Morning, Ev," he said, too casual. "Mind if we talk?" Evelyn wiped her hands on her apron. "If this is about that video, it's about what that video started." He laid a folder on the counter thick with printouts. "Got people asking if you're really who you say you are." "I never said I was anything," she replied. He thumbed the edge of the folder. "That patch you wear, elite unit insignia, right? Records. Don't show your name on the roster." The air tightened. Even the jukebox seemed to hesitate before spinning the next song. A soft guitar filled the gap, "God Bless the Broken Road," drifting under the argument. Cal stepped from his booth. "Chief, you might want to check the old unit logs. Some names got cleared after the fires overseas." Danvers glanced at him. "Appreciate your concern, Mr. Merrick, but I need facts, not coffee shop loyalty." She earned that patch, Cal said quietly. You just can't see the paperwork for what she did. Then bring me proof the chief snapped. Otherwise, take it off before people start thinking we hand those out with the breakfast special. The room fell into radiostatic silence. Customers pretended to stir sugar that wasn't there. Evelyn's hand hovered near her apron, feeling the rough threads of the patch beneath the fabric. You want proof? Her voice was low. Fine, I kept copies. In storage. I'll bring them. Danvers gave a small nod. Do that. He left a business card on the counter and walked out. The bell chimed twice sharp and hollow. Jamie lingered near the register. Ma'am, I didn't mean for it to blow up like this. She forced a small smile. That's how storms start, kid, one careless spark. Cal followed her to the back hallway where the noise couldn't reach. They'll twist it, you know, he said. Maybe she answered. But truth holds longer than talk. He hesitated. Want me to go with you to the post office? Records branch still keeps microfilm for unit citations. Evelyn nodded once. We'll go after lunch rush. Steam from the kitchen curled around them, blurring the edges of the scene like old film. The radio hummed behind the door. Every long-lost dream led me to where you are, and the lyric felt almost cruel. Jamie glanced from the counter toward the small window by the door. Outside, a reporter adjusted a camera tripod. The red light blinked. Inside, coffee hissed on the burner. Then the door swung open. The diner felt different that Thursday morning, too, still too aware of itself. Outside news vans lined the curb. Jamie wiped the counter for the third time, though it was already clean. Cal sat near the window eyes on the street, waiting for something he couldn't name. Evelyn worked in silence. She had pinned the patch back beneath her apron, but the thread still scratched her palm when she moved. Every pour of coffee felt like testimony. Then a sedan stopped out front, black government plates. The bell above the door chimed once. A tall man in a pressed uniform stepped in, gray at the temple's medals, neat as punctuation. Major General Reeves. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the jukebox seemed to hold its breath. Reeves scanned the room, found her at the counter, and walked forward without hurry. Ma'am, he said quietly, do you still have it? Evelyn's hand trembled just enough to betray her heartbeat. She lifted the edge of her apron. The faint gold stitching of the elite unit patch caught the fluorescent light, a muted sun rising in a chrome world. Every eye pinned her to silence. The metaphor became real judgment, curiosity, and awe pressing down like gravity. But she stood her ground in that small battle of truth, back straight gaze level. The general stopped a pace away. For a second, the world shrank to the space between them, one filled with dust motes, coffee steam, and 20 years of unspoken memory. I was there, Reeves said, his voice steady but roughened by time. Your unit saved my convoy outside Karbala. They told me you didn't make it. Evelyn exhaled slowly. Most didn't. Paperwork got lost. He nodded once, then did something no one expected. Reeves brought his hand to his brow and saluted. The gesture cut through the room like light through stained glass. Forks stopped mid-air, chairs froze. A heartbeat bass drop filled the silence, steady, thunderous. Then absolute quiet. Cal rose from his booth, the old instinct returning, and mirrored the salute. One by one, the others followed, first Jamie, awkward but earnest, then the chief, who had once doubted her, hat clutched to his chest. The general's voice fired up the room with respect. This woman wore that patch when it still meant crossing a bridge under fire. She served before hashtags, before half this town learned what service costs. No one moved. The air felt charged, almost holy. Reeves turned toward the camera crew that had slipped in unnoticed. "You wanted a story," he said. "There it is." The reporter lowered his microphone. Outside, the light shifted. The morning glare softened into something human. Evelyn's eyes filled, but she didn't blink. "General," she whispered, "I was just serving food." He smiled. "And now you're serving truth." Applause began hesitantly, then grew a rustling wave that washed through the diner. The neon sign flickered brighter, casting warm reflections across the counter. Jamie's phone trembled in his hand, the red light blinking again. But this time he didn't post out of irony. He simply recorded the silence, the shared breath, the proof that respect could still surprise people. Outside, the town flag lifted in the sudden breeze. Inside, Evelyn lowered her apron hand, still resting over the patch. She didn't need to say anything more. By Saturday, the story had traveled farther than any of them expected. The diner's phone rang so often that Evelyn unplugged it. Then around noon, the radio by the pie case crackled alive. "This is Chief Danvers. Some of you saw that video. Some of you judged too fast. Turns out Miss Evelyn Hayes did serve honorably. We owe her more than silence." A pause, then the shuffle of paper and a deep exhale. "Today our town hangs a flag outside Hayes Diner to remind us what respect looks like." The signal fuzzed, but the message landed. Every booth seemed to breathe again. Jamie stood near the window watching as two firefighters climbed a short ladder to fasten a fresh flag to the pole. The cloth unfurled red-white and the brightest blue the sky had seen in weeks. Evelyn came to the door, dish towel still in hand. Cal stepped beside her. Neither spoke at first. The sound of the flag rippling filled the quiet like ocean surf. Then Cal said, "Mind if I help with that patch?" She blinked. "The one under my apron?" "Not anymore," he said with a small smile. Time it flew again. They brought the folded banner inside, clearing a spot on the counter between the pie tins. Evelyn threaded a needle. Cal steadied the cloth. Together, they stitched the small gold patch, the same one that had caused laughter, rumor, and redemption, onto the bottom corner of the flag. Every pull of the thread felt like repairing something larger than fabric. Outside, townsfolk gathered, neighbors, customers, and a few strangers who'd driven in just to see the place. Someone played a slow piano line on the portable speaker. Soft, hesitant, beautiful. The notes mingled with the late summer breeze and the distant peal of church bells. Jamie leaned against the doorframe, shaking his head with a grin. "Guess we owe her more than a refill." The line drew gentle laughter, the kind that releases a crowd. Evelyn glanced up, eyes glistening, the corners of her mouth lifting. "I'll take kindness instead. Keep your tips." Cal chuckled low and warm. "That's the first order you've refused all week." The flag rose again, patch catching the light. For a heartbeat, everyone stood still. Hats off, phones lowered. What had begun as humiliation ended as harmony. No speeches, just quiet understanding. Even Chief Danvers was there, his uniform collar open hand over his heart. He stepped closer to Evelyn. "Ma'am," he said, voice rough with humility. "I'm sorry for how I spoke to you." She nodded. "Apology accepted, Chief. We all forget what service looks like sometimes." The radio caught static, then cleared just long enough for one final line. From the broadcast, Danvers, again sounding tired and grateful. "To those still serving quietly, thank you." The piano faded. A child in the crowd clapped once, then twice. Others joined, soft and steady, until the rhythm matched the flutter of the flag. It wasn't a parade, but it was enough. Cal watched the banner catch the sunlight, the patch gleaming like a promise kept. He turned to Evelyn. "Looks better up there than under an apron." "Yeah," she said, voice barely above the breeze. "Up there it belongs to everyone." By late afternoon, the diner had emptied to a hush. The flag outside swayed in the slow August wind, the gold patch catching one last glint of sunlight before evening settled in. Inside, Jamie balanced on a stool near the far wall. He held a small wooden frame inside it, the embroidered image everyone in town now recognized, the elite unit patch. The thread had dulled over years of wear, but under the glass it looked timeless, almost holy. Evelyn stood below, wiping her hands on a towel. "A little higher," she said softly. Jamie adjusted the frame, then stepped down. "There," he said, "so no one can miss it." Cal watched from his usual booth, the corner that faced both the counter and the front door. He sipped what was left of his coffee and nodded. "Some people wear their honor on their sleeve," he said. Jamie smiled. "And some hang their patch on a wall so we don't forget." The line hung there, simple and right, like something that had been waiting to be said. Evelyn blinked fast and turned toward the window. Outside, the sun had lowered itself just enough to turn the street amber. Cal rose, reaching into his pocket. He set a single silver coin on the table, old, worn smooth by time. For the next cup, he murmured. It wasn't money so much as a memory, offered a token of service, passing from one quiet hero to another. Evelyn noticed, but said nothing. She simply placed her hand over the coin and nodded. Jamie flipped the closed sign, though the light stayed on. The smell of coffee lingered with the faint hum of the refrigerator, a domestic peace earned the hard way. Later, as dusk settled, Evelyn carried a cup of tea out to the porch swing behind the diner. The boards creaked the way they always had. Wind chimes whispered above her head, and somewhere in the distance, crickets tuned up for their evening chorus. She sat wrapped in the small grace of stillness. The patch on the flag outside fluttered once more. Now just a piece of cloth, but also a story, a proof, a reminder that respect could come quietly and stay longer than noise. Cal walked past on his way home, lifting a hand in a half wave. She returned it smiling. No ceremony, no speech, just the shared peace of people who had seen the worst and still believed in the best. Jamie's laughter drifted faintly through the open door as he wiped down the counter one last time. "See you tomorrow, Miss Evelyn." "Tomorrow," she replied. The word sounded like a promise. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of rain and something clean hope, maybe. The flag moved again, the patch glimmering as though alive in the fading light. And in that soft, golden moment, the diner felt like the safest place in America. Ordinary, humble, and whole. If this story moved you, share it forward. The diner had gone quiet again, save for the soft whir of the ceiling fan and the slow sway of the flag outside. Still, the framed patch on the wall glimmered in the afternoon light, a quiet heartbeat of its own. Proof that kindness doesn't need applause. Cal stopped by the counter, left his old coin under the sugar jar, and smiled at Jamie sweeping near the door. "Funny thing," he said, voice low and sure you don't realize history's being written till it's got coffee stains. Jamie laughed, the sound easy as the breeze through the open window. Outside, the bell rang once, and the smell of rain rolled in, mixing with the hum of the jukebox. Later, when the lights dimmed, that patch still caught the glow, soft, steadfast, and true. It was never about rank or proof, only about remembering who still serves quietly. And the town never forgot the patch that shone for everyone.